We're recording. Hello everyone. So I did a little bit of work, just a tiny bit outside of the camera. So I just fixed a few issues. So there was an issue that I noticed, which was that the more I was going to the right of the screen, the more incorrect the tile selector became. There was a rounding error, and the other error was yesterday when I was finishing up. I was talking about the coordinates, and it was actually like 0, 2 here. That was also an error because it didn't take into account the shift that I did and the cropping that I did of the kind of traditional diamond map. Because for this project, to keep you in the loop, I'm trying to break away from this diamond map and kind of go for a more like rectangular isometric display that we see, for example, in games like Dofus. So this kind of like full screen tactical isometric arena that I'm kind of trying to go for. Right? So the changes, I'm going to cover them real quick. They're mostly in this section, the mouse motion event. So what's happening now is that I'm rounding the result, and I also, instead of dividing by an integer size, I kind of pre-calculate the inverse of that. So this is 1 on what is that actually? I think it's at the top. Yeah, it's 1/64th and this is 1/34th. So basically it just keeps everything a little bit more clean. This actually I could kind of revert it, but it just avoids some annoying warning and stuff. So just prefer to write it like this. And then the rounding also, which is new there, which is was the missing piece. And another thing another difference which isn't noted there for some reason is there's also here. So I'm offsetting. This is something I saw on a similar guide by a guy called Parallel Realities. So if you look it up, this actually fixed my issues. So it's just offsetting the mouse coordinate by half a tile on both axes, and then the rounding. Both of these together kind of fix this tile selection issue. For the coordinates being offset, like the coordinates showing different values now. So this is 28.2. What's happening is that first of all, I inverted these two blocks. So this block comes first and this comes second. And in the block which displays in the debug information on the screen, displays the X and Y coordinates on the isometric terrain, I kind of inverted the offset that we applied and the cutoff that we applied to the terrain. And for now, this seems to be fine. Yeah, I was just having a thought at the same time, but everything is chill. So now we don't have any negative coordinates, which is something that I kind of, this is where all my, this is where I started to think that there was something I could improve there. Is I had a negative coordinates and stuff, and I felt like this was odd. But now that these things are fixed, we can move on to other things. So I was at the stage yesterday of like, okay, how do we kind of, I'm just going to commit this actually, fix to tile selector and its coordinates. So yeah, I was at the stage also yesterday of like I was trying to figure out yesterday how to convert, like, because what I have right now, this display cannot be kind of properly we cannot kind of save this into an array very easily. So what I was thinking actually of stream is that I'm gonna save the whole 56 by 56 diamond that is kind of the whole scope, and then the subsection that actually is square that we are using, I'm gonna mark it differently, like a boolean or something, or a flag, so that we know there's an active tile there. So the array I'm gonna save on disk is gonna be 56 by 56, but in that array I'm gonna have like a subset of cells that are active. So I can save map binaries as like blobs of data. I could just save them on disk and then reload them and parse the array, and it seems to me like that might be more easy, you know. So save the whole 56 by 56 thing. So I think I'm gonna head in that direction for now. So I have to delve back into what I was doing. I was into create game world, I believe. So yeah, we're gonna loop for the stage size, basically. Like this. And we're going to create these tiles. We're gonna push them into the grid, which is the grid of the test map. So we're gonna add all the rows. This function is never used, so in main, I'm gonna create the game world. Like that. So when I loop over all of these cells, I'm going to use the same test that I used here, so the boundary test. And in fact, I should probably kind of extract that test, because I'm going to be reusing it. So I'm going to create a function that is going to tell us if an isometric coordinate is within the arena of the stage. So I'll have a function is iso in stage, and then I'm going to take the iso coordinates, I'm going to use these tests. So it's going to be this. And then we're going to return a bool. Like that. So when we create this cell, we're going to pass in the x and y isometric coordinates, and that allows us to reuse that. When we create the game world, we're going to do the same thing. So if is iso in stage ij, we're going to do this thing. Actually, we're always going to create, also it needs to be a point. We're always going to create a tile, no matter what. But then if, and we're always going to get the tile info. But then if it's in the ISO stage, we mark it as barren. And also we're going to add another thing. We're going to add a, let's add a bool b stage is on stage. We'll mark it as true like this. We could try to add a little bit of randomness, like for example we could try to assign either barren or green biome. I need to use random bytes for that. Let me just double check my tests that I made. Alright. Actually, it's gonna be way easier if I just check online their official documentation. Because I remember they have a very easy example here that we can easily copy. So we just need to include random bytes, and then in the create game overworld I'm gonna do some stuff. So I'm gonna have a single int there, which is gonna be between 0 and 255, and then I'm gonna use the function that's provided with the library. This is the result. I don't think I'm gonna put this for now. I don't think I'll put this as well. In fact, it's gonna be very simple. Something like this. And then we're gonna say if the buffer is smaller then uint 8 max divided by 2. We're gonna go with barren. Otherwise we're gonna go with green. This is gonna be an RNG value. I'm gonna call it RNG byte so it's clear that it's 8-bit. Put 2 breakpoint here. Run green so we can see it's random. So every tile that is in the stage will get populated with the biome. That's going to be marked as on stage. And in the tile info constructor, just for clarity, I'm going to set that the tiles by default are not on stage. So we create all the game cells, and then maybe we could do a thing where well, actually we only have one map for now, so what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna load that map now, and I'm going to create a function which creates a kind of an equivalency between the cells that we have here and the tiles. And I think for this, what I'm gonna have to do is perhaps create perhaps I need to create a singleton for this. So a singleton in this case is just a, in the case of, you can use flecs for this, and what we mean by singleton is a component that references itself and has a sort of almost like a global status into the program. So we could use the singleton, and then in the singleton we could I mean, I'm just thinking, would it be better to just store the, maybe for now, maybe we'll add the singleton later. You can research it on your own for now, but it may actually come back. But I'm just thinking maybe it would be good to just keep for now these things global as we're laying down the basics, because there's a lot of uncertainties for now. So yeah, what if I do this instead, you know? Is there a special rule for mlib? I think there's a special rule for global declaration. Okay, seems like, I don't know. I'll try it. So when we create the cells, we're going to initialize the cell grid. Then every row, we're going to create a new row. Like this. Then we create a cell no matter what. And well, actually, because the thing is, the cell is a prefab, right? That already contains a box, bounds, color, and so on. So I don't think I'm gonna create it. I think I'm fine because I can just store 0 in the array, I think. So in this case, we'll push the entity into the row, and otherwise we push a 0. And then after we completed this, we're gonna push into the cell grid the row. So nothing to report unusual. Everything seems to be rendered fine. I think if I add, if here I had done the same thing, the effect is basically that the full diamond will generate, I think, right? Yeah. So it's good like this. And this is possible because the flex ECS entity are just a number in a large array. I think we should have a thing where it's like a component that gives the grid coordinate. So I can call this. So there's the origin, and there's the component called grid element, I think, because it's not just isometric. We could kind of think of this as any array. So we have the column and the row. So we have a grid, and it comes with a grid element, right? It makes sense, I think. And in the prefab, we know that the cells are going to be grid elements, and we know that the tiles are going to be grid elements as well. So when we create the game world, when we create the cells, here we get their origin, and then after that we're gonna get their grid element component. And then from that point we can set, so the column is I, and the row is J. So that's what we're doing. And I think we'll do the same thing to tiles so that we can kind of match them up. Or easily kind of know which one is which in different contexts. I don't know if we will need it like in the immediate, but I'm still thinking it's worth adding. So that's the tile info. It gives us the info of the tile, and then the grid element there. We'll rename this entity. Like this one is going J first, and then this is actually gonna mess things up, because the way that we're iterating here is not in a way that we can push stuff in. So what we will need to do, I didn't realize this before, is we'll need to like pre-initialize, kind of like what we did here. So take the cell grid, no, what am I doing? Yeah, I'm gonna add 0, and then I'm gonna push into the matrix like this. And then here, instead of creating rows, you know, again, since I have pre-created them, I'm just going to use array entity. I'm gonna use I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna say I'm gonna get from the cell grid, and what I want to get is the J. So that gives me a row like this, pointer to a row. And then here I can say I'm gonna set at this row. I'm gonna set at I. I'm setting the entity there. And otherwise, setting 0, or actually just doing that thing, but let's do it like that, and we don't need this. I hope this will work. It's like stretching my knowledge of mlib a little bit. I'm just testing out everything. Let's just see if it at least runs. Oh no, you see we have a crash. This is the kind of crash that are hard to read into, so we'll just have to look into it real quick. So I think we don't reach this point. We do reach this point. And then I never finished this iteration. So it must crash here or there. It goes here. I is 57. That should be 57 minus 1. Is that what's going on? It's gonna change the shape of my stage, I think. Yeah, we're passing this now. So it was just a one-of error, I think. It didn't change the shape. So it seems like we picked up a small error, which is important. I'm gonna add a bit of comment. So creating the cell grid. This is just so that we can iterate over the order that is, because right now basically we're not sorting the cells, we're literally just creating them in an order, which makes so that when we run the render sprite system, it just works magically. But eventually I'll have a sort function, so this will be less of an issue. But okay, so now there's two arrays that exist. One is the cell grid, the other one is the map. I think we could try different strategy, but I'm gonna have a function for sure that, you know, loads a map. So, and it's going to take an entity, which is a map, and we already have a prefab for that, and we created one as a grid. So we already know this might actually eventually be a done differently, but for now I'll just do a simple function. So we want to load a map. So what this means is we need to get the grid. We need to get the grid of the cell grid. So we call this. Actually, we don't need to get the. Yeah, we need to get the grid of the cell grid. So we call this. It's a bit tricky. Call this board grid there. And in this case, what we want is we want to get. Oh, actually, no, we don't need to get the board grid because it doesn't exist. We're just using directly the matrix here. So that's good. It's going to simplify this case because we just need to get the grid of the map in that way. So the grid is going to be let's get a mutable for now. We need the world. And we need to get the grid of that map. So we're gonna go over the grid. So we're gonna do 4, and then we're gonna do this to create an iterator, and the iterator we need to pre-create it up here. So we're gonna say we want to iterate over the grid like that. It's not just the grid, it's grid content. There we go. And then we want to check if it's the end pointer. The iterator is at the end, and if it's not, we're continuing. And then we're gonna do next to advanced iterator. Then we have the iterator for the row. Actually, this is for the row. Now we have the iterator for the column. And then we're going to do the same thing. This time we can use a cell, oh never mind, not that time yet. Alright, so we're going over the content of the grid of the map, and then what we're gonna have in each cell, we can recover it. So we can recover the entity which is representing the tile, right? And to recover it, we need to use ref, like this. With the column iterator, like that. And let's just dereference, since it's just a number. So this is the tile entity, and we know that the tile entity has a tile info. We can get a constant pointer. I don't think we'll want to modify, since we're just loading. So we could just use get. Actually, now we're loading the map, so I'm wondering how I want to do this. Maybe what I want to do is just add them as a pair, like add the tile to the tile as a relationship to the cell, the matching cell. Maybe what I want actually is to get the grid element component. And then with the grid element, we can take mat entity get, and then the matrix that we'll be using is the cell grid, and we'll be accessing the same row like this. Then we deference that. It's going to give us something, and then we can do array entity get, and then what we want to get is the column. So this will get us the matching cell. This uses a global cell grid array, which is this kind of unique array. So I think we could do ECS add pair. So the subject is going to be the matching cell, and then we'll create a new tag which is going to be called associated tile, and then it's going to be the tile. So associated tile is going to be a tag. I'm going to go in the main here. I'm going to create a new tag associated tile, like this. And then when I load the map here, I'm gonna use ECS lookup, and I'm gonna look up associated tile. It's gonna give me the tag like this. So this will associate to each cell a tile. So let's just try something. Let's see if when we come to I'm just thinking, like, when we maybe we should just for testing purposes kind of see if we can disable drawing if we can disable drawing of the sprite if there's no associated tile there. So oops. In the sprite component, I'm gonna have a boolean should skip render, like this. And so in the system to render the sprite, you know, if the sprite should skip render, I'm just gonna continue and skip it. But by default, oh, we had a little error. Oh yeah, here I'm using the content, but it shouldn't be the content, it should be, that's the error. We should have an array, which should be a row. And then we're going to use ref on the row iterator to get it. So this here's the reference row. Alright, so now nothing is being drawn. Even the selector. So in the main, when I create the selector here, the sprite, I'm gonna say that this one should be drawn. There we go. But then, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a little function, or maybe it could be a little system or something. And it's gonna set should or not the cells skip their rendering based on whether or not they are associated with a tile from another map, essentially. So I'm gonna try something like this. I'm gonna have a system for system sprite set should skip render. No, I'm not gonna do it like this. Not with the system, it's too broad, I think. instead I'm going to do my own function. So it's going to be set cells validity for now. And I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of iterate over all the cells. So like this, but without initialization. Actually, let's not do it like this. We just did it just before. Here. So we're gonna go over the cell grid like this. Then we get the row, we iterate over the row. And then we're gonna check if ECS as pair. We do need the ECS actually. So ECS. Also, we need the entity, absolutely. So this is going to be the cell, the matching cell. So if the cell has the pair associated tile, and I think there's a thing like a wild card. Let me just double check. Flecs wild card. Maybe I can use tar. ECS as pair equal true. So confused right now. What is it telling me? Expected expression? Oh yeah, it's not working. What's the wild card? I wonder. I think they have another thing. Get target, and then what I want is for this relation and then the index is 0. Oops. Yeah, 0. And then we're gonna check if the target is not 0. Yeah. Now I don't know. I don't know what happens if there's no relationship. But we're gonna try something. So we have a cell here, and then if the relationship is not 0, we're gonna take the sprite of that cell and then we're gonna say that it should not skip its render, and then otherwise that it should. There's a way to simplify this, but for now I'll leave it like this. So set cells validity. We have these two functions. We have load map and set cells validity. So I'm just gonna try them. The way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna just first of all set cells validity is the one I want to try just by itself, because it should not crash and it should not do anything. Entity that is not equal to 0. Okay, where did we hit that problem? It wasn't there, obviously, because if it was just to disable that, everything would work. Alright, so what must be happening is here, I assume. I think at the reference, and then if cell is equal to 0, I literally just skip. I skip. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. So now this work, I mean, this doesn't do anything. We check the validity of the cells, but none of the cells have a link to a tile, right? So let's now load a map, and we use ACS, and then we look up, and we look up map 0. Now, let's try that, see where it crashes or what's wrong. Oh. We have a similar problem, probably for similar reasons. So, I think, yeah, here the matching cell. We're going to say if the matching cell, the same thing, I bet. So, matching cell is not equal to 0. So, if it's equal to 0, let's just skip. Because these are just out of bound. Alright, nice. Now, I don't know what the hell happened. The rendering order changed. We're gonna have to put that sort function so that we have a bit more control over the order of the rendering. Well, that's neat. I wonder what happened. Just for investigation's sake, I'm gonna disable load map for now. And I want to go in the sprite system for rendering, and I'm just going to disable the skipping as well. The reason for that is I want to see, okay, so I just wanted to see that the first function didn't affect for some weird reason without having to think. That's what I wanted. So it's this function that must be changing the I don't think I think my intuition is correct. I don't think this is the fix. Yeah, no. Also, this did affect the order, didn't it? Maybe just touching the tile like changes its ID. I don't know. Maybe I should. Well, I think the sorting function will deal with this. It's interesting. I really wonder why this is happening. Trying to learn more a little bit about the program. It's moving through all the rows. Shouldn't it be like going column by column? I'm a bit confused. Just see. I almost want to use a normal iterator to figure out, like a normal like for loop to figure out what the heck is going on. This is supposed to bring me to row 0. I get the row. Sorry for the downtime. I'm trying to think about this. I don't know. It's really weird. If I switch these two things. Oh, sorry about that. The cat wants to interfere. Alright, well, I don't know. For some reason, this is what happens. So we create an association with the tile here. I'm going to figure out the sorting function so that we could just resort these tiles because they're misbehaving right now, or I'm going to look into it outside of the video because I'm pretty sure I made a mistake somewhere. So yeah, I'll have to look into it. So when we set the cell's validity, we could also, just for now, we could, if the tile should not be rendered, just for now, we could set, depending on the biome, we could depending on the biome, we could choose an art. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So this is going to be the target that we recovered. And then in the target we have the tile info. So like this. And then we could say that if the tile info biome is green, then the sprite name is tile green 0 png. And else if the biome is barren, we'll put the barren tile. Alright, so we can at least see that the map information, which is the map from the tile, is being displayed into the cells, the gameplay cells. So we'll see, eventually we'll be able to make noise that is more like organic and stuff like that. Also, now it's ridiculous because the tiles are in the wrong order, but I'll look into this problem. This is going to be our priority next time. I think I'm going to stop this video it started in the day and now it's night, and I need to take a little break for having supper. But after I'm probably gonna continue with some stuff. So for now, I'm just gonna send this over. Loading map data to game cells. So yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in, whoever is watching, and I'll catch up with you, and we'll do some more progress on this project and see how tricky it is to develop something step by step with technologies that are a little bit not perfectly known.